Hello, I'm Geeta Gurumurthy. This is the Iran War Today, our daily briefing, which will bring you up to date with all you need to know on day 83 of the US-Israel war with Iran. Let's start with some of today's key developments. President Trump vows that the United States will eventually recover Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium.
We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it.
This follows reports that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei has issued a directive that Iran's uranium should not be sent abroad. The world oil market risks entering a red zone in July or August. That's the latest warning from the head of the International Energy Agency. Meanwhile, Pakistan continues its diplomatic role. Its interior minister is already in Iran, and there are reports its army chief, Asim Munir, may revisit. President Trump has vowed that the United States will eventually recover Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, despite comments from Iran that it will not hand over the material. President Trump told reporters at the White House that the US will probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it. Earlier, the Reuters news agency had reported that Iran appears to have hardened its stance over the nuclear issue. According to Reuters, the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, has issued a directive that Iran's near-weapons-grade uranium should not be sent abroad. Well, in a moment, we're going to hear our assessment from correspondent here in London and elsewhere. But let's first listen to what Trump said on that key issue of uranium.
We're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic. And the people of the country, I believe when it's put to the people of our country, they will all agree that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Yes, Daniel?
Let me just do one follow-up on that. How do you want things to end up with the Strait of Hormuz, though? Would you like that to happen?
Well, we want it open. We want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging tolls. Right now, they are losing $500 million a day is what it's projected. I don't know, it sounds like a lot of money, but whether it's 500 or 200 or 300, they're losing a lot of money. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without our approval. And the Navy has done an amazing job. And no ship is going to Iran, as you know. No ship is going to, or out of Iran without our approval.
Can they keep their highly enriched uranium?
No, we get the highly enriched. We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it.
Well, more on that shortly. But first, the Pakistanis have also been stepping up their diplomatic efforts between Iran and the US, as our correspondent Carrie Davis, who's in Islamabad, explains.
Pakistan is still acting as an intermediary between the US and Iran. And we know that the Minister of the Interior for Pakistan has visited Tehran twice just in the course of this week. And now there is speculation coming from Iranian media that Pakistan's head of the army, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who's played a key role in a lot of these talks, that he might be about to visit Tehran. There has been no official confirmation from Pakistan about that. Now, what are the key sticking points in these talks? With the big caveat that it's difficult to know what exactly is political posturing and what is genuinely causing a blockage behind the scenes, here are some of those issues. Nuclear. President Trump has repeatedly said that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran has always historically said it is not building a nuclear weapon, but it wants to retain the right to enriching uranium. Another big question, what happens with the Strait of Hormuz? According to Iranian media, Iran wants its sovereignty over the strait to be recognised. Now, if that happened, where would that leave many Gulf countries as well who rely on the strait? There are other issues too. Iran has also said, according to the media, that it wants to have many of its assets that are currently frozen unfrozen, that it wants to have war reparations paid to it by the US. One of the big overarching issues really here is that both sides need to be able to walk away with what appears to their domestic audiences to be a victory.
So, as Carrie Davis explained there, the nuclear issue is central to the war and to any peace talks. Here's our security correspondent, Frank Gardner, with more on why uranium is so important.
The nuclear issue lies at the heart of the dispute between Iran on the one hand and Israel and the United States on the other, because Israel and the US suspect that Iran is secretly trying to build a nuclear bomb or reach a state at which it could have a nuclear bomb, which they fear could be deployed against Israel or indeed any other state in the region. Iran denies this, but the fact is that it has enriched 441 kilos of uranium to a level well beyond what's needed for civil, peaceful purposes. And that is believed, or at least 200 kilos of that is believed to be sitting down in tunnels underneath Isfahan, where it was bombed last year by the US, or possibly still at Natanz, the sprawling nuclear facility there. Then there is the issue of ongoing nuclear enrichment. Iran demands the right to enrich its own uranium in its country. And the US ideally, and Israel, would like to stop that altogether. But there is some leeway here. It's possible that they could agree on a moratorium, that Iran, say, would give up enriching its uranium for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. There's a gap between what the US and Iran would accept. But ultimately, the problem is that there's no trust here. The US and Israel don't trust Iran to keep its word. They don't think that it's been honest and open about what it's declared. And Iran doesn't trust the US, says every time we sit down for negotiations with the United States, it breaks them off and goes to war with us. So it's a really tricky issue, the nuclear one.
Frank Gardner there. With me is Gia Gold from BBC Persian. How sure, Gia, are we that the Supreme Leader has actually issued any directive at all? We have not heard from him or seen him at all.
Short answer, we really don't know what's happening inside Iran. We know from the moment the resident of Iran, former Supreme Leader, his father, Ali Khamenei, was attacked, he has not been seen, he has not been heard. That's why rumor is circulating that he may be severely injured or even dead. And many have been posing this question. He may not be even capable of issuing such a directive. But we know that the messages attributed to him most of the time in the past 2 months is very close to the hardliners allied with Iranian Revolutionary Guards commanders. For example, today, while we are in the middle of this negotiation and Pakistani trying to mediate and close the gap between two sides, we hear from a body today, they publish a map that showing the areas in the Strait of Hormuz should be controlled by Iran, and any ships passing through that region must acquire permission from this authority, Iranian authority. Or talking about the enriched uranium, which is a red line for the US, must stay in Iran. In a way, I think his directive is very close to hardliners who say to the negotiation team, you should demand maximum.
Gia Gold, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Well, the world oil market risks entering a red zone by the upcoming summer season should there be no progress on ending the Middle East war. That's the latest warning from the head of the International Energy Agency. Let's listen to what Faith Birrell had to say during his appearance at the London-based think tank Chatham House.
These stocks we have, it is eroding. So if you have money in the pocket, and if you don't have income coming, you can spend, but then there is an end of it. We are coming to end of it, and the problem is, end of June, early July, the travel season starts. What does it mean? Typically, oil demand, oil consumption goes up. So these two things, the stocks are eroding. Not new oil is coming from Middle East, and the demand is increasing. This may be difficult, and we may be entering the red zone in July, August, if we don't see that there are some improvements in the situation.
Well, is there going to be any resolution between all the sides involved here? Let's get more with our diplomatic correspondent, James Landale. And James, we're seeing, again, another attempt at diplomacy. We've heard that potentially the hardliners issuing, lines today. Do we know, first of all, any clarity on who is making the decisions, the key decisions within Iran? We know that Ghalibaf, for example, is the chief negotiator, where he sits.
Look, the whole decision-making structure within Iran is quite opaque. The key point is that there's no one key figure. There's fluid different power centres, the IRGC, the clerics. There are different parts of the security structure. And what we've seen as a result of this conflict is the whole swathe at the top has been taken out initially by the Israeli attack, supported by the Americans. But it has regenerated, and that has created quite a debate amongst all the Iran watchers over precisely who's up and who's down. But by and large, the consensus is that a core part of the next generation of Guards leaders have come to the fore, and they are harder line than some of their predecessors.
And we heard just these fresh lines from President Trump saying, you know, they will get the enriched uranium, they are going to destroy it, you know, sticking to that very tough message on the nuclear issue. Is it possible that there can be a resolution even as the economic stress globally on fuel supplies ratchets up?
Look, I mean, both sides clearly want a deal. The Americans are under political pressure at the moment. It's not a popular war in the United States, and the Iranians are under economic pressure. And the blockade is beginning to tell. The problem is that neither side wants to jump first, and neither side at the moment seems ready yet to make the compromises that would be necessary to reach some kind of diplomatic deal. Because as we've heard, there are gaps over the substance, over the Iranian issue and the nuclear issue, what happens in the Strait, Iran's the proxies and ballistic missiles, all of that. But there's also gaps between both sides over the timing, the sequencing, what gets agreed at what stage. So all they're talking at the moment about, all these talks happening, maybe they're not happening, what the Pakistanis are doing, it's all just about a framework text of a possible memorandum of understanding that might agree a few principles and park a lot of the difficult ones. So we're talking very minimal stuff at the moment. And the problem is that if the Americans reach the conclusion that they're at an impasse and they want to try and shake things up and change the calculus in Tehran, they might say, now's the time for more military action. That's certainly what the Israelis are pushing for. And the consequences for that, the Gulf is petrified because of what it might mean for energy in the region, desalination plants for them, and the consequences for the global economy. So that's what's at risk here in terms of there's a huge amount of capacity for escalation in this conflict.
OK, that is not a reassuring message, James, but thank you very much indeed for that analysis. This, of course, is a very volatile and still moving picture. Whether you are joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Sounds, Radio or television, thanks for your time. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with the Iran War Today.